Hey creative friends, welcome to Tracy Bautista Color. I thought I would just give you a little overview of the printmaking session that I just did using my handcrafted Monoprint and pigment bars. You can see a bunch of them there. And showcase kind of what I did, or talk about what I did. A lot of these are just like samples, a lot of testing out techniques. I like to create these like technique cards so that I know what the paints do and how they react with other mixed media. So I used a variety of my own pigment bars, which are the duotone multicolor wax paint bar, and also some of my Monoprint bars and some of my wax pastels. And then I experimented with a variety of other wax and oil-based products. See, a lot of the big areas of color are all done with my pigment bars and the wax Monoprint bars. Some of the highlight areas are done with different wax-based crayons, and like for instance, this is Neocolor. This is a Derwent art bar, which they don't manufacture anymore, I don't think. And then all of the color over here in the back, these are all my Tracy Bautista pigment bars, and this is also pigment bars and wax Monoprint bars, along with, this is a Stabilo Woody mark on there, and a China marker. These are all oil-based. So really beautiful marks you can get as you layer on top of my pigment bars and paint with them. So a lot of these were monotype pools where I put the paint on a heated mat and then pulled up the color. And then I also did painting on top of the paper where you just blend the bars. And so there's also some oil pastels. This is, I think, the Crayons Specialist on there. Different types of rice paper and thinner drawing papers are great for this technique. And it's all about kind of just layering and making the marks. So you've got these like beautiful pieces that you can then collage or paint on top. And I did mainly a lot of just mark making. I wanted just to play with the color. Ended my session, started painting some flowers and just layering this is all pigment bars and Monoprint bars, my handcrafted wax paints. So I just thought that you might want to see a peek inside the beautiful layers and the colors that you can get with my wax pigment bars and printmaking bars. So let's just do a quick overview of the supplies I'm using in this video. So I have my wax paints. These are handcrafted artisanal paints that I make. They're called pigment bars. They're multicolor confetti bars. You can see many of these have been used, so they're melted. But you can draw and you can paint with them, both using them cold like this or heated. So today's video, I am walking you through one of my favorite techniques is wax monotype, but we're going to be using a silicone heating mat. So this is actually made for food, warming food, and you'll see me use it as a printmaking surface. So I'm pretty sure this is the first time anybody showcased it, because most people do kind of like an encaustic monotype, but they use an anodized aluminum. But my products are specifically made to be heated on something like a heated silicone mat. So you'll need a brayer, any of your favorite silicone mark making tools. You could also, in this video, this is basically what I'm showcasing, but you could also have your handcrafted stamps, and then a selection of your favorite mark making tools. And I share some of my favorites in the video, and I have some brushes over here and some other mark making tools. Oh, and definitely you'll want to have a pair of gloves, nitrile gloves. And lastly, a selection of papers and or some fabrics that you can work with. I love printing on these thinner kind of rice papers, and I usually pre-cut a stack so I have a bunch to work with. And I also love kind of like thin drawing papers and mixed media paper. I also pull just like paper out of different notebooks and journals and sketchbooks. So I just have little bits and pieces because I love the grids and the lines. So grab your supplies and sit back and play with me in the studio today as we paint with Tracy Bautista Color pigment bars, Monoprint bars, and wax pastels. I am playing with my warming tray or warming mat to do a little bit of wax monotype painting. I'm setting it today at 176. I never go higher than 200 degrees. I've got a piece of paper that's been sitting here. It's a piece of rice paper. Or actually, is this rice paper? No, this one is a piece of just drawing paper. This is a piece of rice paper, so it's a little thinner. And if I put my hand on here, it's warm to the touch. I have a glove on, obviously. And then I just have a bunch of different papers. So we're gonna do a little bit of testing and monoprinting. I actually am set up on my counter right next to the window because I needed a little ventilation. So normally I work with one piece on this side and then I use this as the monoprinting area, but I'm gonna do both today. Two pieces and do a little bit of the monoprinting over here. I have some of my pigment bars from the Urban Petals collection, which is my most recent collection. And then I also have some bars, just random colors that I've created throughout the years. We're gonna just make some marks on this page. So first we're gonna take this and basically like you would do any kind of printmaking, you have a brayer and you don't need too much pressure and it pulls up the print, which is really nice. So, and you can keep layering some of the darker colors from the collection. This is from Urban Petals. And so my wax monoprint bars are made from a couple of different natural waxes and pigments. And I do have a wax oil bar that you can use with this also, this technique, but you may get a little bit of that oil halo. And then the pigment bars. So these are my pigment bars. These are the duotone color. So you can see there's two different sides to them. And these are also made of a plant wax with pigment. They're highly pigmented, very creamy. And right now I'm not making anything, I'm just making marks so you can see kind of what you can get when you play with this technique. So I'm loving the color combination. The fun thing about using the pigment bars is that you do get, you know, the 2 to like 5 different colors that are in one bar. So you can get this like multicolored line. One of the other things that I love to do is, let me just pick up the rest of this paint over here. I'm doing this without my tripod. Hopefully it's not moving around too much. So I'm going to leave this. I would use these for like collage. I could use them for the basis of other paintings. Once I'm done with the colors, I will take a little cleanup paper and just put this on here to pick up the rest of the paint that's on the surface. And then to completely clean this off, all you need is a paper towel and just a little bit of pressure, and you can wipe off the rest of the color. So I try to take off as much color as I can on an extra piece of paper, because that paper can be like your cleanup, and then you can use it for collage later. I'm going to take 2 pieces of paper, here, and we're going to just kind of experiment. So one of my favorite ways to use these is also just to draw right on the surface. This isn't hot yet, so we'll just start over here. So when you use the paper warm and then you color with the pigment bars or the wax printmaking bars, it makes this beautiful like mix. It blends them really well because you're getting a little bit of the heat and it melts them into each other. And so it's one of my favorite ways to make marks and to play with the paints, because you can get, you know, a little bit more like a darker color, but then you get this beautiful like blended background. So this is fun to kind of start your page this way if you wanted to, and then come back over it with doing some mono printing. And you can kind of see. Fun way to just make a color palette of the different paints that you have. And what does this measure? It's pretty large. I mean, it's larger than an electric pancake griddle. A brighter blue. So you could use the side of the pieces also. I'm gonna do a little bit on this side here. So you get that on there. And then maybe let's pull some of these onto this one. So this is a rice paper. I think it's either from, I think it's from Japan. I have to look at the paper, the cover. Let's put it this way so you can see it a little bit better. So right now, again, I'm kind of like trying to hold the camera and paint at the same time. So I'm not really making anything too compositionally correct, but I just want to show you like the layering that you can do. We're gonna try some of the other like wax and encaustic based tools. So I have beeswax crayons. I think these are from Italy. My sister brought them back for me. So I'm assuming they're pure beeswax. I have some that are beeswax. This is one of my beeswax wax pastels. Like random crayons. I'm not sure what this is. I think it's also a beeswax crayon. And I've got some, this is, what is this? Oh, craypaw. So oil pastel, which you can get some really fun marks. This is just another random crayon. That's kind of fun. I'm gonna try also a white, I think this is an oil pastel. Let's see what happens. That one doesn't work as good. And let's just add a little bit more pink down here. This is one of my pigment bars, and it's got pink and purple, so I'm like scribbling both sides. And now I have all these different marks. Let's put a little bit more. I love this blue. Paper. I didn't put that in there very straight. Oh well. And my brayer. So we'll see. I don't know if those other ones are going to come up. It doesn't look like they're transferring. They looked really pretty. Yeah, see, so my pigment bars are made for this. The crayons, they're okay, not so much. They look pretty on here. We take this and let's grab one of my lighter color pigment bars. I'm gonna kind of do a little melty on the top of it and see if I can transfer those onto paper. I might lose some of the mark making, but let's see if we can grab some of that. So that helped a little bit. It pulled it up. I think it's also because of the wax that I have in mine. I'm not sure what these other crayons have in them. They probably have like a paraffin wax. I don't use that kind of wax. Let's pull this one. This is looking like a hot mess right now. So we may have to do some layering to get this to do something. So I wanted to show these because while they looked pretty on the plate, they did not transfer very well. So that's the, benefit from like experimenting. Let me pull this here and do something. So one of the things you could do, and let's just let this heat. Actually, this one's hot already. So we could take this, and I think a better use of this is probably not as a monoprint, but as a mark making tool. So I want to say I got these at Daiso. I don't know, I just found it randomly sitting there. Let's see, this is a Craypaw. This is the Specialist line. So that's pretty. Wait, this is the Specialist also. What's this one? Oh yeah, that's the squares are Specialist. So this is their higher end. Let's see, this is warm now, so it's moving around. This one's not gonna move for me. And then this is definitely doesn't glide as much on there. It's almost like, it feels like a pastel, like a regular pastel, but this is a oil pastel. So one thing that these are great for is to do some like detailed work over the top. This is in a Pentel oil pastel. Let's clean this little thing off. I'm gonna take another color and see. This is one of my pigment bars. Ooh, look at that color. I don't remember what collection this is. Actually, this is actually from the Urban Petals collection. I just grabbed a bunch of things that were sitting on my desk, on my studio table. Very pretty marks. Take my cleanup paper and try and get as much of that off of there. here's where we are with these, which I'm totally loving right now. This is a dry erase crayon by Crayola. So I think there's probably some kind, I don't know what they make these with, but you can see they actually blend really nicely. So if I wanted to, let's see, let's blend them with some of my pigment bar. Ooh, it's pretty. This side of the pigment bar is a lighter color, so it's kind of the blender side. And then this is the darker color. Let's blend it with a little of the yellow. So that blender side definitely moved quite a bit. See the difference? But very pretty. So this would be really great resist. So I could paint over this with watercolor or with inks. To make like little collage sheets or even just little swatch cards. That's one of the things I love doing, is to see like what the colors are of the pigment bars. So it's one side, this is the other side with the purple, and then if you mix them together you can get kind of this purpley pink color. And this is not long enough. I also cut some paper from a planner. This is a sterling ink planner that I never used, so I just pulled out some of the paper because it's nice and thin. And it has the graph paper which I like. So I thought, well, that might be fun. I don't think it might be the Tomo River paper because this is from 2025, the planner. So definitely a different print. I don't know if I like that. And this is why it is definitely beneficial to test on different papers, because you can see like what works and what doesn't. This, I suspect, would probably be better if I just colored and painted like right on it. This paper is like very kind of slippery, so it feels glossy almost. And then you can see I can mix that color that's on there with a different color. I can test out, you know, what happens when I layer. Let's see if I do I gotta get this warmed. I'm just trying to do like a little resist. It's kind of pretty. So this one, definitely not so much for printmaking paper, but to paint on it, it's not too bad. Let's see what this does. This is the Expressionist. It's kind of a lot stiffer, stickier, I should say. Yeah. I really do love doing the work with crayons over the top of paper like this when it's heated, because you get a whole different like look, and then you can glaze over it with my wax printmaking bars. That's really pretty. Let's do it with the blue. Let's go over here. Oh my god, I need to go find the rest of these crayons. What should we do as a resist over the top? Maybe a pink. Is that a pinkish purple? Oh, that one kind of blended too much. So this, I'm not sure what kind of crayon it is. So I think, you know, depending on the type of crayon, because this is a little stiffer. it won't move as much. So then when I, you know, do my little thing, see it, that one blended a little bit. This one blended a lot. So this one's too creamy. So this is definitely not so good for the resist, although let's try it over here. That was that one. Let's do, see if it blends. I'm just trying to, I'm holding it very light. So, that's not bad. Let's see what happens when you do a darker color. Not so much. I can kind of see it. Okay, we'll let that warm up. And I'm just coloring more color on here. And then I'm going to use some mark making tools that I made. Oops. This is made with craft foam, and in my book Printmaking Unleashed, I talk about like making different funky kind of brushes. I don't think that print is going to be very nice. Yeah, it's kind of blah. But I could fix it by coloring in here. Maybe I add my favorite crayon. It's kind of fun. I could come back in here and like make this a little farther. So again, fun way to just, you know, make marks and see. Here's a beeswax crayon. Let's see what this does. It's very light. Well, let's see what happens when I use something like a wax snap from Encausticos. This is a encaustic paint. So this has Damar resin in it. Definitely is a lot harder. It's going to take a little bit more to melt it. I want to say these might be like closer to 200. So I just wanted to see. It's not as bright. These are, you know, for a different kind of technique. Let's open up. I have a bunch of these two RNF. Let's open this up. This actually has been probably sitting in my studio for 10 years, and I just found them in a box. So this, I don't know, is definitely, I think it needs higher heat. I don't know, it is old, so that could be the culprit. There we go, heat it up a little bit. So again, this has Damar resin in it. None of my paints have Damar resin. So once it gets heated, you know, it's actually meant to be paint, like you actually paint with it, but I am just drawing with it. Let's see if we can get it to make some marks on here and pick it up. I have a feeling it's not going to move as much. A little bit. They're lighter. Not bad, but definitely doesn't pick up as easy as mine. Mine are specifically made for monoprinting. These are more like a paint. I mean, you can still print with them, but definitely made to paint with. I'm going to pull some of this up with my own color. So we're going to take this and see if it will pull up the color. So the benefit of doing monoprints or monotype on a surface like this is that you don't have to fuse it. You can just print and it's ready to go. So I'm trying to see if I can pull up the rest of that color. I put one of my pigment bars over the top. So it did mix with it a little bit. And it's pretty back to my little blue. Okay, let's take a look at some of these. So fun. And obviously a lot of these are just test swatch technique cards. It's just like a really fun way to kind of learn what all of your supplies do and the way that they work together and the way that you can layer them. So, you know, have fun experimenting. I'm using one of my wax pastels right now. This has a couple of different colors in it also. The warming plate is still on. And then let's do a little with my new favorite crayon. So I think they're a really great accent to working with the pigment bars and the Monoprint bars. You can get a little bit more detail work done and little pops of color depending on, you know, which one you're using and the type of crayon. Like this beeswax crayon, it's not very, it's okay. Let's see, here's a Crayola. This is one of those wet eraser ones. So that one mixes a little bit too much. So it's good on here. This one, I don't know what happened there. I want to try it on something else. It's not too bad. I hope you enjoyed a peek inside one of my printmaking play studio sessions. I encourage you to spend some time playing and experimenting with the silicone warming mat and my Tracy Bautista color pigment bars, Monoprint bars, and wax pastels, and your favorite mixed media supplies. You can find more details at tracybautistacolor.com. Thanks for watching.